It is no secret that I'm a bit of a Borderlands fan. Been following the series since the first one when I was a wee lad. The second one came out when I was 10 and I absolutely fell in love with it. It's honestly one of the first times I remember something grabbing my attention in that kind of way. I was literally obsessed with the game from the first trailer drop to all the way through the game's life cycle. I was so obsessed with that game that when it came out literally a month before my birthday, on my birthday, I got 2 copies of the game because I was so excited about it. I just could not stop talking about it. So my mom and my grandma both got me a copy of the video game because I was just absolutely geeking on it, as you could say. So, yeah, you could say I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to this game franchise. BL2 is a certified comfort game, and I catch myself playing through one of the games a couple of times a year at least. So, with Borderlands 4 being on the horizon, as well as its first trailer dropping a couple weeks back, you know your boy and all the rest of the Borderheads are pretty excited. But I would also be lying to you if I wasn't upfront about my overall hesitation when it comes to a new Borderlands game. I don't think I really need to tell you how cringe the latest entries have been. New tales shouldn't even be talked about, and in all honesty should be retconned along with the movie, and even BL3 has its issues, but mainly those issues correlate with the writing. I think the problem that most people have with Borderlands, including me, is that for every dopamine rush that you get when you hear a legendary pop out of your enemy's head, you also have Randy Pitchford doing his best to make sure Borderlands dies.
About Borderlands 4, or I could just show you Borderlands 4. Who wants me to keep talking? Anybody?
Borderlands, in all intents and purposes, lost its identity. Something just probably happened between the greased up USB drives full of what should be magic tricks, Randy Pitchford.
Who wants me to keep talking?
And his love for old, dead memes. So me, along with the fellow landheads, are hoping that BL4 is some sort of return to form. BL1 was pretty much a test run for Gearbox's loot system, so that meant the overall world and story is pretty basic. But it was also filled with some wacky characters like TK Baha, Scooter, General Knox. The beauty of Borderlands was that it was a world that relatively took itself seriously. You can find multiple echo recordings on how Pandora became what it is during the main course of the games. Pandora, for the most part, was a prison world where corporations began transporting prisoners in order to do labor. Companies like Dahl and Atlas using the S-tier strategy of unpaid and forced labor to mine for the Vault, a mysterious alien artifact that was thought to house unknown treasures, but really are just cute little prison cells for even more cute and adorable eldritch abominations. Look at you! Oh, I just want to pinch your little your eye. I just want to pinch your little eyeball. That's for, yeah. But when Dahl and Atlas couldn't find the vault, they cut their costs, abandoned everyone on the planet, including the prisoners, and even some of their own scientists. Atlas would still maintain a small presence on the planet, but overall would not have a massive impact post-first game. My point is that Borderlands is a looter-shooter that takes itself seriously with comedy elements, not a looter-shooter with comedy elements that sometimes takes itself seriously. Borderlands 2 ran with this idea, with one of the best villains, period, with Handsome Jack. An asshole tyrant who by all means deserves to die, but he's a lovable asshole tyrant. An asshole tyrant with a heart, you could say. BL2 is the series' darling, and my favorite because it nails the timing, the pacing, it knew how to flip the tone. The first 2 acts of the story keep itself relatively light, while Act 2 does gradually shift the tone. You can feel it. After Act 2, and when you get into Act 3, the tone is completely different. Handsome Jack himself is a whole nother beast. He goes from making fun of you and not taking you seriously to wanting to rip your heart out, literally.
People of Pandora, my daughter is dead. Murdered by the Vault Hunter. So I've decided I'm rescinding the bounty on the Vault Hunter. If you should kill that child-murdering son of a bitch before I do, I will find you, and you will regret denying me my vengeance.
Now, fast-forwarding to BL3, it seemed like they forgot how to properly shift that tone. Nothing feels like it has weight. Lilith loses her powers, which is a big deal, but doesn't really seem to affect her all too much. Maya, a major character, dies, and while that isn't a problem necessarily, it's majorly forgotten and never has its own time to breathe. While after Angel dies, Jack becomes a whole different person. Jack turns from mockingly threatening you to legitimately wanting to torture you. Pre-sequel carries this, but I feel like pre-sequel keeps a dark tone for the majority of the game. To its benefit, of course, it is a game showing the final domino that turned Handsome Jack into the beautiful little himbo he is. Now, real talk, you can't chalk up the differences in writing because the writing room did change between BL2 and BL3. But I don't know, it seems much more deeper than that. I think, to give you my armchair game dev opinion, is that Randy Pitchford in his majestic glory probably thought what made Borderlands so popular was the guns and the comedy. You know, which is half right. BL3, even with all of its faults, I never said it was the gameplay that holds it back. The problem with BL3 and more recent entries too is it just tries too hard in the comedy department. What I found funny in BL2, Pre-Sequel, and BL1 was that the comedy was more hidden. It was subtle, and when it was in your face, it was always played off as these are just how the characters behave, which worked. Comedy in itself is inherently subjective, after all, again, you can't really talk about comedy without saying it's subjective. Something's funny for some other people, something's funny for some other person. So I'm not going to harp on comedy for too long, but if you want a prime example of the decline in writing in Borderlands, just watch this.
No, I can't highlight this. Not when I'm so close. And not at the hands of a filthy bandit! See, I could have saved this planet. See, I could have actually restored order. And I wasn't supposed to die by the hands of a child-killing psychopath! You're a savage! You're a maniac! You are a bandit! And I am the goddamn hero!
From the sky? Run towards the fire. Sanctuary's yours, Ava. Be ready. What does Lilith think she's doing?
Closing the Great Vault. She's saving Pandora.
That could kill her!
She knows. She's the Firehawk.
I think BL3 and later entries just ended up trying too hard and failed to realize what made the series so popular in the first place. Because it wasn't the comedy. The comedy was always secondary. It was always how seriously the world took itself while also having these wacky and zany characters to flesh it out. Borderlands used to have weight. BL3 failed in that regard. So BL4, trailer dropped, looks cool. I like the mechanical psychos, very body horror, very Tetsuo the Iron Man. Vault Hunters look kind of bland, but seeing Zane with a beard has me feeling a certain kind of way, you know what I'm saying? The overall feeling for me as a Borderhead is cautiously optimistic. I don't trust Randy Pitchford to deliver, but I do trust Gearbox to make a fun game. I'm just scared of the details that I've heard so far. Timekeeper seems lame. I just don't like time travel plots. Not saying this is one, but if somehow they bring back old dead characters, a brother is gonna be upset. But if something is cool, like, I don't know, finishing the plot that they started at the end of the pre-sequel, I'm down. I guess it really doesn't matter, though. I'm gonna play the game anyway, so Randy Pitchford will end up getting 60 of my goober dollars, so he can enjoy that coming his way. But for the love of God, do not bring Jack back. Don't bring back Roland. Lilith's not dead, so she's good. More guns, more crazy level designs, and for the love of God, calm the fuck down with dead memes. One every once in a while is fine, but if I play the game and I see a Hawk Tuah joke, I'm gonna make Luigi proud. That's all I'm gonna say. Oh, thank God!